You know exactly what time it is. Hello and welcome to our season debut episode of The Blitz. Rocking with me as always in the trenches is my dude, David Shealy. And David, I feel like we have a fun year in store.
We sure do. Season 4 of The Blitz.
Four
of them things, y'all. We're going to have a great episode today because this is going to be a season primer. Everything you need to know about the 2024 Buccaneers before we get to the home opener next Sunday against Washington. Also, special guest Rick Stroud of the Tampa Bay Times is in the house. He's going to give us analysis on the team as well as information on his new book with Bucs assistant coach Tom Moore.
Yeah, can't wait for that. So let's get started. It's the 10 and 10, the 10 most important things you need to know about Tampa Bay entering the season. And at number 10, let's go back to 2023. The Bucs, a team that had very little salary cap to work with, shocked many football fans, winning the NFC South for a third straight year. Todd Bowles stayed off the hot seat with a 9-8 record, plus a thunderous playoff victory against the Eagles before losing a tough one in Detroit in the divisional round. At number 9, GM Jason Licht had the tough task of keeping the band together. It all started with reaching a 2-year contract with future Hall of Famer wide receiver Mike Evans, and everyone else followed, David.
Yeah. Baker Mayfield, Antoine Winfield Jr., Tristan Wirfs, Chase McLaughlin, Levante David, they are all back. And you know what? GM Jason Licht joked earlier in the year. He said, if we can get all these guys back, we should have a boat parade. We still ain't had it. So I'm going to need you to pony up on that one, Jason. Coming in at number 8, despite all the continuity with the top-end talent, there is still plenty of change. Dave Canales was the offensive coordinator for just 1 year before taking the head coaching job in Carolina. So now Liam Cohen takes over that job. He worked with Baker in L.A. under Sean McVay. Most recently, he called plays on the college level at Kentucky, but this will be his first play calling job in the NFL.
Something he will do is improve this rushing attack. So at number 7, let's talk about some of these rookies because the first-round pick was center Graham Barton out of Duke. He replaces Robert Hainsey, who will now be a backup on the offensive end. We expect running back Bucky Irving and wide receiver Jalen McMillan to play a big role defensively. Outside linebacker Chris Braswell and DB Tyke Smith will get playing time as well.
So let's bring in Rick Stroud of the Tampa Bay Times for the first time today. And Rick, we got a lot to talk about. Let's start with the offense. We've got new OC, Liam Cohen. We just talked about him. How much does his addition to the coaching staff change the trajectory of the offense in 2024?
Yeah, I think we've already started to see it a little in the preseason, right? He's here to fix the run game. That's going to happen now because of his scheme. He's going to give Baker Mayfield a whole lot more responsibility at the line of scrimmage to get out of bad plays. It wasn't so much the plays they ran, it was against which defenses a year ago. And then obviously, having the personnel, the drafting of Graham Barton, Ben Bredesen up front, you got those 2 great tackles on the outside. We've seen in the preseason that run game kind of come alive, and that's really without seeing a lot of Rachaad White. So I think there's that, and just they're going to run a little more 3 wide receiver, 1 tight end. We're used to seeing a lot of 2 wide receiver sets, and that's because Jalen McMillan has been so impressive in this camp.
Well, let's talk about Jalen McMillan. What are your thoughts on the rookie wide receiver? He seems like a guy the fans should know about.
They're going to know about him real fast, and I think the NFL knew about him. He had a knee injury his last year at Washington, or he may have been drafted much higher. I think they have a steal in this guy. One of the better route runners I've seen come out of college. He looks like he's been in the NFL for a while. He finishes his routes. He's got great hands. And we've seen him make explosive plays, not just in the games. We saw it in practice right away. And already Baker Mayfield has a nice feel for him. When you add that third receiver, and you've got Mike Evans who's going to draw a lot of double teams, and Chris Godwin. Now Godwin's back inside where he belongs this year in the slot. I think it's going to open up all kinds of opportunities for Jalen.
So it sounds like people need to go out and get themselves a number 15 jersey.
Right now, absolutely.
Right now, get you a 15 jersey, Evan.
I'll make sure I get on that. Thank you. Great stuff. At number 6, let's shift to the defense where there are a few key players from that Super Bowl winning team gone. Carlton Davis was traded to Detroit. Also, Devin White signed with the Eagles in free agency, and Shaquille Barrett retired. There's a slim chance he could play for the Bucs again this season, but we'll cross that road if and when we get there. So at number 5, the team needed to add some pieces, and the most notable is Jordan Whitehead. He was a member of that Super Bowl winning team, went on over to the Jets for a couple of years before circling back to Tampa. The squad added some depth pieces in the secondary with Tavier Thomas and Bryce Hall. Also, Ben Bredesen will start at guard on the offensive line. At number 4, there have been some injuries in training camp. The most serious ones were running back Chase Edmonds and offensive lineman Sue Opeta, who will miss the entire season. Yaya Diaby had a scare with a high ankle sprain, but he should be good to go for week 1, along with the aforementioned Jordan Whitehead, who missed a large chunk of camp with a quad issue.
Let's bring back Rick Stroud of the Tampa Bay Times to now talk about the defense. Rick, there are only 36 career sacks from the outside linebacker group, but there has been tons of hype surrounding second-year player Yaya Diaby. I like him a lot. Are you buying the hype, or do you think it has, gone a bit too far in terms of the hype train on this top-tier pass rusher talk about Yaya?
Well, I think their prayers were answered when he did get hurt in training camp, right? He had that scare with the high ankle sprain. But no, I'm buying everything about Yaya Diaby because we saw him last year come in here, didn't really play a lot the first half of the season, and then he winds up leading the team in sacks. Yeah, it was only 7.5, but the guy really didn't start the last 5 or 6 games of the year. Yaya Diaby is going to be a good star in this league. I think him and Kalijah Kancey work very well together. I think you're going to have a really good all-pro player at one time.
Let's talk about the defense as a whole. Do you think this defense is a better unit this year than last year?
I really do, and only in this sense. They got back Jordan Whitehead, and as I talked to Todd Bowles the other day about it, he said, look, we had Antoine Winfield Jr., we let Jordan go, and now that he's back, the Whitehead's back, he goes, the communication, I don't have to worry about either side of the field. He goes, before, we knew Winfield could cover one side, but we didn't have the other guy on the other side. Now, we're complete back there, and he's a better player when he came back than when he left. I really like this defense. Of course, they got the goated linebacker. You've got Vita Vea, who's in tremendous shape. That's been the big difference, is to see the shape that those guys have come back in. And then the most athletic guy, on the field are your corners, right?
Yeah.
So Jamel Dean and I think that they have a good group, and if they stay healthy, they're going to do well.
Somebody who was supposed to be in a Bucs uniform, I played with him back in high school, but Evan, he's not going to be here this year.
Yeah, no, he will not. At number 3, it is worth mentioning the Bucs signed outside linebacker Randy Gregory in the offseason. The veteran never showed up for mandatory OTAs, never showed up for training camp, and essentially racked up so many fines, the Bucs were able to recoup his signing bonus. One of Todd Bowles' most memorable quotes from training camp this year was, "You can't miss what you never had."
At number 2, not that preseason games matter, but the Bucs went 2-1 in the exhibition matchups. Most of the starters only played in the final home contest against Miami, and they looked great against a bunch of backups. The team also held joint practices against the Dolphins and Jaguars, so Todd Bowles believes they got plenty of work done preparing for the regular season.
I mean, it's good that they were ready to play. They were ready to play longer, and they wanted to play longer, but I'd seen enough, and getting 2 weeks ready for the first game, that was all I wanted to see, was continuity.
At number 1, Tom Moore returns to the Bucs for his 6th straight season as an offensive consultant. He started his coaching career in 1961 as a grad assistant at Iowa. Now at age 85, he's still going strong in Tampa Bay and continues to be one of the most treasured football minds in the National Football League.
For last time, we bring in Rick Stroud of the Tampa Bay Times, not only a dogged reporter, but also an author. Your new book named The Player's Coach outlines Tom Moore's remarkable life. And Rick, what was it like working on a project like this with a man like that?
Well, it was outstanding. He's a legend in the game, but to be honest, it's Tom Moore's book. He talked, I typed. That's kind of how this thing works. But when you think about Tom Moore, he's 85 years old, still out there every day. I don't know how he does it for 2 hours in his jacket, nonetheless, but he's coached everybody, right? I mean, this guy is a legend. He's in the Hall of Fame with the Award of Excellence. You got Bradshaw, you got Manning, you got even Tom Brady was here when he was here with Bruce Arians. So the amount of stories, and he's a tremendous storyteller, a great personal story as well. It was a pleasure.
In his life, it seems like he's the bridesmaid versus the bride,
That's right.
Like he goes to Iowa and he's got this first overall pick that he's got to stand behind. He's never the head coach.
Yeah, his job, he was told from Chuck Noll, who was a big influence in his life, your job is to make the best better. And that's what he did. And there are some life lessons in this book, any profession we're in, yours or mine or anyone's, where it's sometimes accepting your role is what you need to do. Like you said, there could only be one general.
Is there a story from this book that stands out to you that maybe is your favorite?
Well, actually, you would think, and they're all good, right? It's trying to like pick a favorite child, but one of the ones that aren't as, it's not a Peyton Manning, it's not a Tom Brady type thing, is Jake Reed. Jake Reed was a receiver at Minnesota. If you want to know what assistant coaches can do and what coaches can do for players, when Jake got there as a high draft pick, he didn't play much his first year. He had trouble catching the ball. I mean, all the things he went through to improve Jake's coordination and his eyesight was remarkable. And this guy had a career, had about 10,000 yards. And I talked to Jake, and he says, I owe my whole career to Tom Moore because nobody had really detected and spent the time with me that he spent in making me a great player. So I thought that was a good story. So I appreciate you guys mentioning the book, and for Tom especially, who deserves this sort of recognition and his life to be chronicled this way.
Really appreciate your time here. Thank you so much, Rick.
Thank you.
Hey, I got my copy, and I'm really enjoying it so far. All right, let's wrap up this show. If you look at the Vegas lines, Tampa Bay's over-under win total is slated around 7.5 wins. The books are essentially saying we're going to see a small step back from what we saw last season. The odds-on favorite to win the division is the Atlanta Falcons, who signed quarterback Kirk Cousins for a whole bunch of money in the offseason and then spent a top draft pick on Dade City native Michael Penix Jr.
An unserious franchise.
Very
Dave Rubin.
unserious. Okay, so Evan, given the Vegas lines, where do you have Tampa Bay in 2024?
I'm going 9-8. Yes, it's the same as last year, but they also have a much harder schedule this year than last year as well. So I'm baking that in. I have them as a wild card team. Maybe they win that first round, maybe they don't. I'm of the belief that the Bucs are on a Super Bowl contending trajectory into 2025. I'm not so sure about 2024. What about you?
So I also have them going 9-8 this season. I think it's just the safest thing to do because they have a first place schedule. But I do believe their ceiling is 11 wins, so I wouldn't be surprised if they hit that double-digit win total. They should be in the playoffs, and I have a weird feeling that they're going to run into a divisional foe in the postseason. Don't know, Could be Atlanta.
Go
Could,
Falcons?
Well, maybe. I don't know.
Well, that is it here on The Blitz. We got our first episode out of the way. We cannot wait to see you for the home opener. That is David Shealy. I'm Evan Klosky. This is The Blitz. We will see you same time, same place next weekend.